Thank you. Good morning. Before we get started, can I ask you guys to please silence your cell phones? We encourage you to keep them on and interact throughout the session, but please silence them so as they do not interrupt the speaker as they're presenting. We'll be taking questions at the end of the session through Twitter. Poll everywhere. You can text your question to 37607 IST Startup and then your question, or the simple raise your hand will work as well. If you're participating in the Startup Week Passport, you'll get the sticker at the end of the session from either Brittany or Maria sitting down in front. And without further ado, we have Matt Miller. Since 2004, Matt has served as the Chief Technology Officer for CyberCoders, headquartered in Orange County, California. Founded in 1999, CyberCoders recruits professionals for all job types across all industries. Miller's approach to developing innovative recruiting software solutions resulted in making CyberCoders the most efficient, permanent placement recruiting firm in the United States. In December of 2013, CyberCoders was acquired by On Assignment, a publicly traded staffing firm, for $105 million. Matt is also the co-founder and Chief Technology Officer of Career Bliss, a site that empowers people to find happiness and make better decisions in their job and career paths. Prior to joining CyberCoders, Matt worked for the National Security Agency and Lockheed Martin Corporation, designing and developing systems that affected hundreds of millions of people around the world. In 2013, Matt was recognized by his alma mater by receiving the Penn State University Alumni Achievement Award. Matt is a 2001 graduate of the Pennsylvania State University with a bachelor's degree in computer science and from the College of Engineering. He also holds a master's degree in computer science from the University of Southern California.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much. So yeah, I'm here today to talk a little bit about social media, and it's a really big topic. I know it's everything from how you sell products online through social media, how you engage with people, with friends, colleagues, other companies. But today I'm going to focus quite a bit on how we use it to protect our brand, how you can use it to protect your brand if you're building a company. And I'll clarify a little bit what that kind of means and how it works within the realm of social media, how you can use it to engage your employees, and also about your personal brand, which I think a lot of people don't really think about online right now because it used to be 10 years ago, if you went for an interview, it's either you and your resume and maybe your work experience, but now it's your whole online profile is what you are. And you really need to think about that. So I think it's an important topic, especially a lot of you be graduating within the year or 2 or 3. So it's a good thing to think about going forward and as you prepare to go out in the work world. So to start a little bit with protecting your brand. So CyberCoders, as you can see here, this is our Facebook page. Unfortunately, in December, well, not unfortunately, but we were acquired in December by On Assignment, and I had to put that little subsidiary of On Assignment on our logo, which wasn't as fun as I kind of takes away the fun. But it worked out well for everyone. But for us, we're a nationwide recruiting firm, so a lot of candidates and companies come and engage with our brand. But once someone gets a job, why would they come back to CyberCoders? How do we keep the brand in their mind, right? You get a job, and the next day you're not going to come back and look for another job. So what we do is we try to get people engaged as much as possible within our social media profiles. And on a day-to-day basis, we're putting up information that keeps the brand in their mind. So in a few years, they'll come back and start thinking about, oh, I need another job. I'll think about CyberCoders. And if you go to other recruiting firms, ours is pretty much the most, probably very witty, engaging kind of firm. Most are very kind of dry, not very fun. They don't have as many fans as we do. You can see we have about 68,000 people almost following us right now on Facebook. So on a day-to-day basis, we're putting up multiple pictures, things like that. And just a good way to keep everyone engaged in our brand. It is important, for us, we think about the employees that are in our company, if they're out on social media, how they're talking about our brand. So it's good to have a policy in place for your company. If your employees are going to be talking about, if they're talking about CyberCoders, they're talking about it in a positive way. And so it's across the board, it's a consistent tone of the brand. So people are talking about cyber as a fun, witty, engaging way across the internet. And also, it's important, I think, to be open on your pages. So on a lot of pages, you can kind of close things down and not allow people to post your sites and post your pages and or your feeds. But what we do is we keep our page completely open. So anyone, if they have a problem with CyberCoders, they can come on here and blast us. We won't delete their post. And we think that's important for transparency and authenticity. So we'll actually respond to anyone that posts on our Facebook. If they're having an issue applying for a job, we'll respond to it here, and people can see it. It'll be all public information. And And there's other things we do, like for brand and employee engagement called First Fridays. It's FURST, so everyone can bring their dog to work. So it's a way for people to, both from a brand standpoint, people can come and see what it's like to work at CyberCoders, as well as our employees, they get to see and engage with each other on design as well. And just before I go a bit farther, I'm just kind of curious, how many people are on and use Facebook? Yes? How about Twitter? How about, have you ever posted reviews on Yelp? Anyone? No? Any of the online reviews? Have you ever submitted online reviews anywhere? Yeah? Okay. That's good. So I'll come back to that in a little bit, but I was just curious from that standpoint. So within CyberCoders, we'll show you a few examples, not just of our company, but of how other companies have successfully used social media on there's brands as well. There's an interesting example with Delta, what happened with this certain gentleman. Delta has a Twitter account called Delta Assist, and so he was on a flight that was delayed, and he was about to give a keynote speech at Salesforce's big conference where there's tens of thousands of people going, and he was going to miss his keynote speech because his flight was delayed. But he was able to tweet to Delta Assist while he's on, via Wi-Fi in the air, and arrange for a new flight as he was going. So he was actually able to, through Twitter, have a conversation, get booked for his new flight, make it to the conference in time, and give his speech without delay. So it's interesting how, before without Twitter, that would have been very difficult to do. You can't just, make a call from, your flight to do that. So it's just interesting that, from a brand standpoint, now he'll probably use Delta all the time, and it's a great example of what Twitter can do to keep people engaged with your brand. Likewise, I don't know if any of you were at the Zappos discussion last night. Jamie, who's the Speaker of the House, was giving a speech about building a brand that matters. And Zappos has a great brand. They sell shoes and pretty much everything else now because once they joined Amazon. But what they do is they aggregate pretty much everything that people tweet about their products. They created something called a tweet wall, where people can come and look at everything that commenting about their products. So once they've started doing this, and let's see, it doesn't work very well on Internet Explorer, so it's right up here. Well, so that's an example of their tweet wall. So it shows all the products, and then you can scroll over and kind of see what people are talking about, what they're tweeting about. And once they started doing this, it kind of elevated the conversation of what people were talking about online. So now, their sales increased quite a bit once they started doing this, because it's the social concept that, people are buying these products, they're saying great things about it, and now it's increasing sales for them as well. Good. Okay, sorry, one second. And another thing, it's interesting to do what you can do with what we've found successful on Facebook or Twitter, one of that, is finding ambassadors for your brand. So it may not be someone that's at your company, but someone that you find is kind of constantly engaging with your brand. So they're posting comments on your walls a lot. So you may engage with them and ask them to participate and actually, talk about you within the community, post blogs, things like that. That will push back to your brand and make your company more well known out there. We do that quite a bit. Also, within our employees, we'll ask them to post things about our, ask them to talk about what they're doing, tweeting about CyberCoders, posting pictures online. We'll show all of our company events. So CyberCoders is big on culture. So we have a work hard, play hard philosophy. So we do a lot of company parties and events. For St. Patrick's Day, you'll be able to see everything that we do on there. So this is helpful in particular if someone's looking for a job. They kind of see, oh wow, this looks like a fun place to work. So it's been very effective for us from a recruiting standpoint because a lot of other companies aren't as open like this or engaging as we are. We also do things like contests. Like every Tuesday, we'll have a brain teaser, and you can go and win Starbucks gift cards and things like that. So people seem to like that, and they get a lot of traction as well. So it's a great way to keep people coming back to your brand. So they know every Tuesday you come and there's a game or brain teaser or something for you to look at. And what the other thing, one of the topics I wanted to talk about was with your personal brand, and which is, very, very important. So if you're online and let's say you're posting, let's say you're posting negative reviews about something online, or there's crazy pictures or things like that. You don't want to be a one-star Yelp rating when people look at you for interviews. So yeah, you have to think about the accumulation of everything that you're putting online, and that's what companies are going to be looking at. So your Facebook, your Twitter, every review you've ever posted, that's all part of your online presence now. So it's important to think about how you're going to preserve your image online, and make sure you lock things down on your Twitter and get it cleaned up before you go out to start interviewing. So some suggestions is if pictures you have on your Facebook page, your main picture, you probably want it to be a professional one, not doing cake stands or anything like that. Make sure you hide all those. You can set your privacy tags and make sure what's personal to your friends or private and not to the public. So you make sure you can do that on Facebook as well. Making your Instagram handle private, all those pictures should not be out on the internet. So just a good suggestion. And you need to start thinking about yourself as a brand and not just a person. So brand management is incredibly important for you as a person as well as a company that you're going to be building. And it's also a balance. You don't want to just be like this ghost on the internet that doesn't exist. So if they go to their Facebook page, it's just the generic picture. Because companies want to see that you have a personality and who you are, and they just want to get a better picture of who you are as a person, but just not that's the crazy part. So just try to be honest and authentic online. And I think that is a good way to present yourselves to companies when you're trying to interview. Are there any questions so far? No? Okay. So what I'm going to show you is just one example here. Sorry. I hope no one messages me while I'm on here. So this is one of our top competitors in the recruiting industry. You can see they're pretty generic stock photos, those kind of things. We actually have a dedicated online social media manager that manages all of our social assets. So she's constantly posting things about our brand, taking pictures of people around the office, creating custom photos, things like that. And it's important, I think, especially if you're going to be out there, you want to have a presence on as many social platforms as possible. So that is, we have CyberCoders, or Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I think we're on Snapchat now. I don't know what they're doing on there, but that's something. So we're trying to test out every possible thing. Pinterest as well. And it's been actually. And I mentioned I also am the co-founder and CTO of another company called Career Bliss. So that's more of an online. So Cyber is more of a human capital where we place people in jobs that are recruiting. Companies looking for jobs and we place them into jobs. Career Bliss is more where people can come and submit reviews online. The whole business model is around generating revenue from people clicking and advertising on display ads. So it's a lot more about people engaging with the brand and getting them to know that. So actually with Career Bliss, we've become the leader in the job search space on Pinterest, just because we have found a unique way to engage graphically with people looking for jobs. So that's a lot with building infographics and those kind of things, which people find extremely useful, and people online seem to respond to these types of things very effectively. So, we found once we started building these types of infographics, they started getting very viral, and people were sharing them around the internet a lot more. Hundreds of thousands of these get shared each day. So we were recently focused on quite a few magazines about our approach to Pinterest and what we're doing to engage users that are looking for jobs. Does anyone use Pinterest here? Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I use it for work, but not for anything else. But yeah, I'd like to open up to some question and answers right now. If you have any, yeah.
Do you ever find yourselves paying for sponsored ads?
We do. The one big one I missed or bypassed what I meant to talk about was LinkedIn, obviously for businesses. That's the big one. We do both sponsored advertising on both LinkedIn and Facebook. And on Facebook, it's interesting if you're selling a product, I think Facebook is more effective for sponsored ads and to get your brand engaged. But for us, because we're not selling a physical product, we get people to like our page, but it's not necessarily people that are looking for a job. So it would be just, you have your quality followers, and you have your people that are just kind of there and not really engaged with the brand. On LinkedIn, however, it's more people that are looking for jobs, and are more likely to engage with the brand. So it's not as active of a network as Facebook is, but it's definitely more effective from a job search and employment standpoint. And I would recommend, if you're not on LinkedIn, to get a LinkedIn profile before you graduate. Because it's one of the most popular ones, especially for recruiting. Recruiters are on here looking for people now. It is the biggest network for finding talent. So I would definitely fill out your profile as much as possible. How many people are on LinkedIn right now? Good. That's good. So be sure to make your pages full as much as possible. With your work experience, your skills, any achievements you had while you're here, make sure you list those. Your honors and awards, all those kind of things. So that's all good. Do you have any other questions so far? Yeah.
You talked about ambassadors, right? People that are talking on your Facebook page and you see them. Have you ever hired anyone because they stalked you on Facebook? And I'd be interested in your ideas on, is that a good idea to create a relationship with a company through social media and then see if that leads to
If it's done, it has to be done carefully because people are smart and they'll see through if you're trying to just buy, especially on Reddit. We're looking at our Reddit strategy right now, and on that platform in particular, if things don't go well, you'll get just lambasted and taken to the coals. But we do it more, I think, if on our blog platform, if we find someone that is really interested in our brand and wants to write about us, then we'll bring them online as a writing partner. But as far as paying someone to write about our brand, we haven't actually done that yet.
No, I meant like these guys. Like, I want to go work for so-and-so, so I create presence on their social media things so they see, who is this person that keeps
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We engage with everyone that posts on our site. So if you are looking for a job and you start engaging with the brand, you'll hear back from us as well. So everything that gets posted on any of our social media assets gets a response. So it's an important thing to do, I think. Especially a lot of companies, they'll throw up a Facebook page or Twitter account, and people will be posting on there, they won't get a response. And then that actually hurts the brand because they're ignoring their customers. That's something you definitely don't want to do. Another topic. Yeah. So any more content now is becoming very, very important for people to come back to your sites, and social media is a great way to circulate and socialize your content. So we've made a big push into actually building custom content within our both CyberCoders and CareerBliss.com. So we're posting constantly new information. We have partners with Mashable and TechCrunch, so some of their editors are actually posting and creating content for us. And it's been very effective, so once we create custom content on the site, we can push it out on our social assets, which pushes them back to our websites, and then gets them re-engaged in our brand. And you know, just constantly keeps them coming back to the site. So like, for example, this Resume Tip Tuesday we do every Tuesday has become one of the most popular pieces of content that we share on the online. So we get tens of thousands of people that come every Tuesday to come see what we're sharing. And it's great because you learn about how to write your resumes and tips on how to get yourself seen better. So I would suggest following that if you can. Yeah.
So you hear it all the time. I used to hear it all the time. It's like, oh, social media, it's cheap, it's free, it's easy.
That's not.
Yeah, I know. So my question to you is just tell us a little bit about the resources that you need to manage this kind of presence.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have any idea of the number of people and cost so that people understand that
Yeah.
while the platform may be cheap, the content creation is not, right?
Right. It's yeah. So we have a full-time person that we hired. You know, it's about $60,000 a year. I think it's the most fun job we have in the company. But you know, it's what we don't want from our standpoint is we don't want someone to post something on our Facebook page at 8 a.m. and not get a response until 8 p.m. So within an hour, that person will get a response if they're posting within business hours. So just having that person managing all of our social assets is a cost. Then developing all the content. So we have a whole content team developing these content and these articles. So there's both a mixture of full-time and part-time contributors. So that adds up. So it's definitely not cheap. And then especially if you want to start paying for advertising to get followers, yeah, that adds up as well. And there's cheap ways to get followers, which you don't want to do because it's just going to be a lot of junk people. But you can really, especially on Facebook, you can target to the types of people you want. So for CyberCoders, our bread and butter is placing software engineers and IT type related folks. So, you know, we can target, we want, you know, 25 or 20 to 50-year-old in the Bay Area, LA, DC, just focus on getting those types of people that work in that industry and those types of followers to our pages as well. So that's an effective way to do the sponsored and paid advertising that I think works really well. Yeah.
How do you measure like the ROI on your social media efforts? Are there any tools?
It's a good question. I was having a meeting with our PR director about that last week. It's a challenge. A lot of this larger sites, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook offer analytics now that you can track. So if you do a sponsored campaign, so there's certain taggings you can do, especially within Google Analytics. They have a lot of tie-ins now that you can tag campaigns within Google Analytics that track into conversion that you would consider successful conversions. That could be a registered user selling a product, getting an email address. For us, it's just if we can get an email address and we can reach out to that person again, that would be a successful conversion. But that's one of the ways to track the ROI. And probably one of the most effective ways is just using the analytics tools available. Yeah.
Since all these guys are either have jobs, how many of you are seniors this year? Of those that are seniors, how many are still looking for jobs? Oh. Okay,
Our job is done here.
all right, it's gonna be. Maybe you already have jobs. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would be interested in, you know, some more tips in terms of, because you know this space, right? The best way for them to leverage social media to make an impression. So, for example, I think about recommendations on LinkedIn. Do you even look at that? Is that just a popularity game of today, or does that have an impact on employers?
It definitely doesn't hurt. I think if you have a legitimate, you know, people giving you recommendations. So if you did an internship or, you know, co-op and it's one of your managers or coworkers, supervisors, for sure the recommendations help. If it's, you know, friends, then it may not hold as much weight. LinkedIn offered this new thing called skills. I don't know if you've seen them. These things, which people can endorse your skills, but I would say 70% of these people I've never met, and they're endorsing my skills, so I don't think that's very effective, so, on my point of view. So I don't think there's a lot of weight going into these skills recommendations things, so I wouldn't spend too much time on that. But you can personally list your own skills, which is good, so I would recommend doing that. And any organizations you're in helps as well. But yeah, you definitely if you're posting your profile on LinkedIn, you don't want just a your title and company name, kind of describe what you're doing, kind of like a resume, because this is becoming the new resume. So you just want to make sure you put some thought into how you're managing your page there. Yeah.
Okay, so since CyberCoders, I saw that they were founded 10 years ago. How has social media changed the way you guys conduct business now?
Okay. And I was asked to repeat the question. So the question was, how has it changed how we conduct business right now? It's become a lot more. So put this. So it's interesting at CyberCoders. A lot of the process that we do is we've built a lot of custom software to automate the recruiting process. So we've become very efficient at finding candidates and clients and matching them to jobs, to the point where we get about 150,000 job applicants a month, and we have about 6,000 jobs that we're working. So even if we placed or hired someone at all 6,000 jobs, that leaves 144,000 other people without a job. So from that standpoint, we had to start putting ourselves out there more publicly, so we could respond to those people that were frustrated, because the people that weren't getting the jobs felt that they were a perfect fit for the job, of course. Why wouldn't everyone want the job? So social media gave us a great way to publicly respond to people and be out there, and if someone was having frustration getting out, we could recommend other ways they could get a job. And that's actually why we launched this other company, Careerbliss, in 2010. So it was after the economy crashed and people couldn't find jobs and companies weren't hiring. So with Careerbliss, we launched it as more of a self-help site. So if CyberCoders can't help you, then Careerbliss can. So we have 3 million jobs on Careerbliss. People can search, apply for the jobs themselves. Whereas CyberCoders is more the premium recruiting firm. So you have an actual recruiter working with you at CyberCoders. But social media has definitely helped us from the standpoint of being out there in front of all of our customers, and just giving them a way to communicate directly with us and being more transparent. Yep. Yeah.
I was going to say, has social media helped attract more recruiters from different companies to help you guys expand the companies that you staff people at?
Yeah, so the question was, has it helped CyberCoders attract more talent to our company, or attract more recruiters from other companies? It's interesting, our first approach, getting on Facebook and Twitter and all that, well, our initial thought was that we would use it to attract candidates to apply for our jobs. And we realized that really wasn't working out as well as we thought it would be, because people are looking for specific types of jobs, and you can just generally market on Facebook. So you can say we have engineering jobs in LA, but people want to know, do you have a Java engineer job? So we actually switched our strategy for CyberCoders to target more on building it as just a brand and recruitment platform. So it's exactly what you mentioned, where we have people that is targeted just for people that are looking for jobs that are interested in working at CyberCoders. So if they're at their company and it's typical recruiting firms aren't that fun. It's more like a boiler room call center. So you're just on the phone, and there you have to make your 100 calls a day. But CyberCoders, like we have ping pong games, we have game rooms, we have the Dog Fridays, we have free food and snacks, video conferencing where you can see other people in other offices. So it's kind of, but just to say that is one thing in an interview, but we actually showing it on our Facebook page reaffirms what we are as a company. So it's helped quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you guys are like the intermediary between getting people looking for jobs and for those jobs that you have connections to.
Yeah.
Has social media helped to I'm not really sure how you guys go about establishing those connections with those companies that you're trying to staff people at, but has that helped you expand your clientele of companies that you staff? Like, the companies come to you now based off what they see from social media.
Yeah.
And say, can you help us staff?
Yeah, that's a good point. Let me show you. Yeah, and the question was, does it help companies? Can you repeat over again?
Does social media help attract companies to you guys that are asking for help to be staffed?
Yeah, so the question, the companies come to us about helping to get to staff their companies. And going back to how automated we are, it was getting to the point where people thought we were just a machine, we were just farming resumes and data off the internet. So we had to put a public, like a face, like people are behind in what we're actually doing. So Facebook has allowed us to actually show what our employees are, that we're a real company and we're real people. We're trying to find people jobs. And there's real people, recruiters behind every 6,000 job that we have. So it actually has helped from both a company standpoint for getting companies to work with us. And because our fees are generally like $20,000 if they decide to hire one of our candidates. So it's a premium service that companies choose to use. So it's important that they kind of know and connect with us on a more personal level. And so you'll notice, even on our website, our old website was a lot of just cartoony type pictures. So we definitely made a push to actually to get more people and just making more of a actual photos of people and our recruiters on our pages, which helps quite a bit. So the more people can connect with you on a personal level, both via social media or website, I definitely would recommend. Yeah.
I was wondering, when you get an application from somebody who's looking for a job,
Mm-hmm.
to your site, how routine is it or integral to the process for your recruiter, because you have recruiters,
Mm-hmm.
to go and check their LinkedIn profile or Facebook profile, but I guess particularly LinkedIn, to see if it matches the information they gave you,
Yep.
or to see if there's anything there at all. And if it doesn't match or if there's nothing there, is that kind of a red flag?
Yeah, so the question is, if we're viewing a profile of someone that submitted an application on CyberCoders, do we go check LinkedIn to see if that information matches or if it corroborates with what they've submitted? And it's interesting, I wish I could show you our recruiting system, but it actually, when the recruiter's looking at their CyberCoders submitted resume and profile, we load up their LinkedIn profile right next to it. So the recruiter can immediately see if there are any discrepancies. Sometimes they may have a profile from 4 years ago, but the LinkedIn profile will be newer. So that's helpful because we can see the missing data. Typically, the recruiters are pretty good at telling if, obviously someone's changing their work history, then that is a big red flag because obviously they're not being honest. So those are probably not good through the system very well. But yeah, we definitely look at the social media aspects.
What if there's nothing on there, let's say they don't have a LinkedIn site and you get there and there's nothing there, is that like something wrong with this guy?
It's interesting with, so about 50% of our business is software engineers, and some software engineers don't care about LinkedIn, and they won't have a profile, which isn't uncommon. So we may go to Stack Overflow and kind of see if they're out there and have a presence. But more and more, it does help to have some type of presence online, because if you're not and you're just not anywhere, then it does seem to cause a red flag. And companies like to know kind of who they're hiring, because companies don't hire anymore for just skill set. Especially at our company, if you're a great software engineer but you're not a culture fit, then we won't hire you. And same thing, I think a lot of companies are moving to that direction. So you have to have a mixture of the person and then also the skill set. Yeah.
When you were starting your social media marketing campaigns, how did you choose which platforms to focus on? And did you just do everything, or?
Yeah. So the question was how we chose which social media platforms to do our paid campaigns on and where to put the money. So we basically did tests on each one, and that's really the best way to do most things is A/B tests. So we'll do a small campaign on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and whatnot. Well, Pinterest you can't pay for, but I'm on LinkedIn, and just test the results and see what works. Some campaigns are more effective, some are not. But I work very closely with the senior executives at LinkedIn, because they're still building a lot of their products. So we'll give them feedback on how it's working for us. So once a candidate or job seeker gets to our site, are they converting? How effectively? What types of people are coming? So from that standpoint, it's helpful because we can give direct feedback on the product that they're building. But yeah, I would definitely say just testing and targeting is effective as well. So, to make sure you're getting your right audience. But you have to know what audience you're targeting as well. So a lot of people just put up a campaign and blast everyone, which isn't very effective. You just definitely want to know who your audience is and target your advertising to that. That's a good question. Yeah.
One of the things that we did in this class was talk about, and they did some research on how this generation who are growing up with social media are coming into the workplace
Mm-hmm.
having different expectations in terms of how it's used in the day-to-day job.
Mm-hmm.
Not like you're an old curmudgeon CEO, That might make a difference, but I'm just curious as to how you're seeing that change and any challenges that it's creating for maybe people in your organization that aren't as social media savvy or as big of believers. And so one is the change you see from the students coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is we have this illusion that students are just like they're social media gurus. Well, they're great at social media.
Yeah.
Maybe not
The
so
fun part.
much at work related.
Right. Yeah. So the question is, how has social media affected people coming into the workforce, and also the difference between social media and the business side of social media. It's, I think especially in our business, the people that are coming in and more savvy on social media are being more effective because they know more what's out there. They're more in touch with all the different platforms because social media keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's not just Facebook anymore. It's not just Twitter. There's all these other ones. So the more you know and the more you know where to find certain types of people has been more effective. And if you're not and you're kind of closed-minded on what's going on out there, then those kind of people are going to be kind of left behind, I think. So there's a lot to learn from the new people coming into the workforce. But yeah, it is important that, social media is both, it can be fun, but from a business standpoint, it can be very effective for, finding talent, especially for us. But it's very good to make sure you have a clear distinction about what you're doing for fun on social media, keeping that private, and then your professional self. So, yeah. Questions? Yeah.
What do you think, from a company standpoint, and maybe this changes, but what do you think for a company starting out, what the most beneficial social media platform would be?
Okay. The question is, what is the most beneficial social media platform for someone just starting out? I would say LinkedIn, for sure, is the most standard that people will be looking at and companies will be looking at. And I understand you won't have a long work history on there, but I think through IST you have to do co-ops and things like that. So hopefully you have some work experience that you can show on there. And companies will check Facebook, but I don't think it's as expected that you would, have a public profile on Facebook that's publicly viewable. But yeah, definitely LinkedIn. And I guess it depends also what area you're going to work in. So if you're going to be in journalism or something, then you'd probably want to have a presence on Twitter. You're going to be commenting on news and aspects of things like that. But it all depends on kind of what area you're going into work. Yeah.
What would you say to people that aren't using social media to build a brand? Like, what's like your tips? Like, why should you do it?
It's yeah. Again, I guess it's depending on what field you're going into. It's good to be, it's something you have to do every day, I don't think, but just, having a profile at least on LinkedIn or some Facebook or something where you can actually be found is important. But it's not that you have to be tweeting every day or, doing that. So, yeah, I don't think I think I posted once on Twitter, so. Takes a lot of time too, I know. Any other questions? Yeah.
How many people do you have at CyberCoders?
We've about 250 now. So.
And do you know the average age of where they're trending?
So our recruiters, we're hiring right out of college. So the average age is 22 to 40. Okay. So if you can email me at matt@cybercoders.com if you have any questions or you're interested in sales.
And when you have students come in right out of college,
Mm-hmm.
what are the things that you find they do really well? And what are the things that you wish they did better? And I realize it's a big generalization, but we're going to go ahead and do that.
Okay. It is, it's funny, some of the interns that I've hired for my team are still at the company, 4 or 5 years later. They're the best people I've hired. you know, it's the people that are coming out that are ambitious and want to get out there and make a difference. And you know, it's a good company. We're growing, and I think, you know, if you're coming out and really driven to succeed, those type of people do really well. So it's definitely, you know, just the hunger to succeed. I think it's just done really well. So it's both from sales, software engineering. The person that manages our content, she came right out of school and does a great job. So.
What do you wish they did better?
Oh, yes. What do I wish they did better? I think, well, with us, you can, either there's the thought that you have the 9-to-5 job and that's it. I think that's changing a bit now because you can email all the time and work all the time. Not that we expect people to work all the time, but I think there is an expectation that, you know, on the weekends you might get an email or two and respond to that. And, you know, some people coming right out of school may not expect that. So if you just want the 9-to-5 job, then this isn't the kind of company. Go to Lockheed. Just kidding. No. Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone who is looking to start their own business?
The question is, what advice would I give to someone looking to start their own business? That's a good question. I talked about that the other day. It's definitely, if you're looking to start your own business on your own, definitely doing the research to make sure the idea that you have is unique, and if there is something else out there, can you differentiate yourself from that concept? How much, you know, the plan of how you would launch it and how you would create the business from a financial standpoint to make sure you have enough runway of money to build up. And even if you want to start a business, there's plenty of time. People do it with what they can do on nights and weekends and start, you know, kind of building their ideas. Because a lot of people I know that went to, you know, PwC or Deloitte and slowly worked on their businesses overnight and on the weekends. And it takes a lot of time, but with enough time you can get there. And I think that's a good time you can build relationships too, because it's hard to do it on your own. So whatever your skill set is, what you're good at, if it's operations or products or management, you want to find someone that's good in technology or sales, so someone that can complement. You don't want to find someone with your exact same skill set, because if you're both doing the same thing, that's not going to help too much. I hope that explains your question. Yeah.
If you started your own business, how soon would you want to leverage social media?
Question is, how soon would you leverage social media after you start your business? I would say it's good to do it once you have something out there that people can actually engage with, because if let's say you're starting a business and you just put up a generic page and there's nothing really on it, maybe to accept an email address to start building a email list to start, so you can target your product to after the product's ready. But I would say your social media campaign will probably wait, or social media pages, until your actual product is up and running, so you can start engaging with people and getting them back there to use it and buy it or use the service, whatever it might be. But some effective ways people have done it is they'll do like the stealth mode, where they'll be secret about what they're starting and just have a page with an email box and say sign up and we'll tell you about it when it comes live. And so that's worked well, that you can build, you know, tens of thousands of emails and then blast out your email campaigns to them. So.
We have time for one more question. Okay, well, thank you, Matt.
Yeah, well, thank you, everybody.